He's gotta stay off the grass. It's a new seat I put down." Stanley stomped out, leaving a trail of wet footprints on the linoleum. Jack looked at his ruined sofa and then at the door. "One of these days, Stanley," Jack muttered, "I'm gonna cook something so good it'll make you forget to collect the rent. But today I'm just making a sandwich." Chapter 12, The Beaded Curtain of Fate. The evening found the three roommates gathered once again, the day's frustrations melting away as they shared a simple dinner of Jack's assassinated soulful, which tasted surprisingly good despite its appearance, and a bottle of cheap California wine. "It's like a dessert soup," Chrissy noted, licking her spoon. "Very avant-garde, Jack." "It's a tragedy in a bowl," Jack replied, though he was secretly pleased she liked it. "I had a rough day, too," Jana said, leaning back. "A man came in today and ordered 50 black roses. He said he was mourning his youth. I told him 50 was a bit much. Maybe start with a dozen and see if he feels any younger tomorrow." "People are strange," Chrissy agreed. "My boss spent 3 hours today trying to explain the difference between a memo and a memorandum. I told him it was just 2 more syllables for the same amount of work. And he looked at me like I'd just discovered fire." They laughed, the sound echoing through the small apartment. For a moment, the unwritten rules of apartment 201 felt less like a survival guide and more like a secret language. "You know," Jack said, his voice turning uncharacteristically soft, "despite the Ropers and the Giants and the missing money, I don't think I'd want to live anywhere else." Jana looked at him, her sharp eyes softening. "Even with the avocado green appliances." "Especially with them," Jack grinned. "They match my eyes when I'm nauseous from my own cooking." "And me?" Chrissy asked, her eyes wide. "Would you want to live with anyone else?" "Chrissy," Jack said, patting her hand, "if I lived with anyone else, I'd actually have to understand what was going on. With you, life is a constant surprise. It's much more entertaining." As they sat in the dim light of the living room, the beaded curtain swaying slightly in the evening breeze, they felt a profound sense of belonging. They were 3 very different people, living a very strange lie, in a very complicated world. But as the fog outside finally began to lift, revealing the bright stars over the Pacific, they knew that as long as they had each other, the rest of the world could stay out in the mist. Chapter 13, The Phantom Flusher. The tranquility of apartment 201 was shattered the following Tuesday by what Jack dubbed the Great Plumbing Rebellion. It started innocently enough a slow drain in the bathroom sink, but quickly escalated into a full-blown crisis involving the entire building's water system. "Jack, the toilet is singing," Chrissy shouted from the bathroom. "Singing? What's it singing?" "Chrissy, bridge over troubled water," Jack joked from the kitchen, where he was trying to salvage a batch of hollandaise. "No, it's a high-pitched whistling. It sounds like a tea kettle with an attitude." Jack walked into the bathroom, to find Chrissy staring at the porcelain bowl as if it were a sentient being. The toilet was indeed whistling, a shrill, piercing sound that vibrated through the floorboards. "It's the pressure," Jack sighed, reaching for the handle. Stanley must have been adjusting things again. He gave the handle a firm flush, expecting the sound to stop. Instead, a series of violent thumps echoed through the walls, followed by a sound like a small explosion from the apartment below. "What was that?" Jana asked, rushing in. "I think I just launched a torpedo into the Ropers' bathroom," Jack said, his eyes wide. A few seconds later, the inevitable pounding began. Stanley Roper didn't even wait for them to open the door. He used his master key and burst in, soaking wet from the waist up. "Tripper, you've done it now. You've flooded the engine room." "Mr. Roper, what happened?" Jana asked, trying to hide her amusement at Stanley's dripping appearance. "The pressure. I was working on the main valve, and someone, I won't say who, but he's standing right in front of me, decided it was the perfect time for a power flush. I got a face full of Santa Monica's finest. I was trying to stop the whizzing," Jack argued. "The whizzing was the warning," Stanley yelled, shaking his plunger at them. "It's like a submarine. Tripper, when it whistles, you dive. You don't flush. We'll pay for the dry cleaning, Mr. Roper," Jana said quickly, steering him toward the door. "Dry cleaning? I need a life raft," Stanley grumbled, though he allowed himself to be let out. "And tell the blonde one to stop singing in the shower. The vibrations are loosening the tiles." As the door clicked shut, the three roommates looked at each other and burst into uncontrollable laughter. "A submarine?" Jack gasped, leaning against the wall. "He thinks he's Captain Nemo." "Well," Jana said, wiping a tear from her eye, "at least we know the toilet works, even if it is a weapon of mass destruction." Chapter 14, The Gentleman Caller. The middle of the week brought a new complication. A man named Richard. He was a high school acquaintance of Jeanette's who had recently moved to the area and, much to Jeanette's dismay, had decided that they were destined to be together. "He's coming over tonight," Jana announced, looking at her reflection in the hallway mirror with a look of pure dread. "He's persistent, he's boring, and he thinks flair is a brand of pen." "Do you want us to disappear?" Chrissy asked helpfully. "We could go to the movies. I heard there's a new one about a shark that eats people's vacations." "No," Jana said firmly. "I need you here. In fact, I need you to be as roommate-y as possible. Jack, I need you to be, well, you." "A culinary god," Jack suggested. "A distraction," Jana corrected. "If he thinks we're a quiet, domestic household, he'll never leave. We need to show him the chaos." When Richard arrived, he was exactly as Jana had described. Beige suit, beige personality, and a smile that seemed to have been programmed by a computer. He sat on the wicker chair as if he were afraid it might bite him.